This week, I'm going to lead you through a strengthening slow flow practice. We're going to go through a lot of strengthening poses and stay in each of them just a bit longer to really engage and strengthen the whole body. Let's get started. The only props that I'm going to use today are 2 blocks, but they are very optional. So if you don't usually use blocks, you probably don't need them for this practice either. And then we are going to start from lying down on the back. We're just going to take a moment to check in with the breath before we start moving more. So bring yourself into any easy pose, resting on your back. You could have your knees bent, or you could extend your legs if you want. And you could bring hands onto your body, maybe one hand on the belly, other hand somewhere closer to the ribs, maybe on the ribs, so you can feel your breath in a couple of different places. And then give yourself a few slightly deeper, slower breaths in and out. Just notice where in your body you can feel your breath today, in this moment. You might feel more natural to breathe down to the belly area. Or maybe for you in this moment, it feels more natural to breathe out to the ribs, kind of lateral breathing. Or maybe you can feel your chest rise and fall as you breathe in and out. Or maybe it's a little bit of everything. Maybe you can feel the breath a little bit everywhere. Just notice how you are breathing now. And give yourself a couple more breaths in and out before we start to move. And then if you have your legs extended, slowly bring your feet on the mat. Bring your arms, your hands down next to your sides on the mat. And we're going to start with a few lifts up into the bridge. So feet maybe hip width apart in a place where you feel you can press down through the feet. First, inhale down on the mat. And then as you exhale, press down through the heels, press down through the whole foot. Elevate your pelvis, your back off the mat, opening through the chest. Inhale up in the bridge. And then exhale, slowly lower down. And as you bring your back onto the mat, if you need to adjust your feet, feel free to do that. And then same again, as you exhale, press down through the feet, lift your pelvis, lift your back off the mat. And now we're going to stay here for 3 breaths. Really focus on that connection through your feet to the floor, to the ground. Keeping inner thighs engaged, so we don't let the knees drop out to the sides. And also gently start to press down through the backs of the shoulders, through the arms onto the mat. After your 3 breaths, exhale, slowly lower down. Just slowly controlling your way down. And then one more time, this time just a bit longer. So as you exhale, press down through the feet once more. Lift your pelvis, lift your back off the mat. And now we're going to stay here 5 breaths. Stay in touch with your feet. And from your feet, lift that support to your inner thighs, to your pelvic floor. Feel the whole back line engaged. And again, pressing down through the backs of the shoulders. You might walk your shoulder blades just a bit closer. That might help with that engagement through the upper back, through the backs of the shoulders, arms. Still breathing. You could use your breath to open across the chest. And then after your 5 breaths, just slowly exhale and release down. And then hug your knees into the belly, to the chest, and you could rock a couple of times from side to side. Counter pose after those bridges. And then we're going to lift head towards the knees, rounding the whole spine, and holding onto your legs, start to rock forward and back. We're slowly gathering momentum to bring ourselves all the way up into a seat. And then when you feel ready to do so, bring yourself up into a seat and then find your way onto hands and knees, so onto all fours. Bring hands roughly under your shoulders, knees roughly under your hips, toes could be tucked under. And we'll do 3 cat-cow movements just to give more movement in that in that rounded, flexed direction movement for the spine. So now as you exhale, round your spine up towards the ceiling, really pressing down through the arms, pressing down through the knees. And then with your next in-breath, open the chest, release your spine into a gentle back bend. Same again, focusing on that flexion, that rounding of the spine. Exhale, rounding the whole spine from neck down to the tail. You can bring chin towards the chest, again pushing the floor away. Next in-breath, open the chest, find a gentle back bend. And then one more time, exhale, round your spine. You can think about tucking the tail under, feeling engagement through the lower belly, through the hips. And then once more, inhale, open the chest. Just a gentle back bend. And then toes tucked under, lift yourself up into a downward facing dog. Here you could take a few steps from foot to the other, maybe from hand to the other as well. And then find a good solid place for your hands so you can ground down through your hands. Spread the palms, engage the fingers. With your next exhalation, shift the weight forward into plank and bring right knee towards your left elbow. So crossing to the other side. And inhale, step back into downward dog, head dropping down. Same on the other side. Exhale, come forward to plank and bring left knee to your right elbow. Inhale, step back into downward dog, head can drop down. Again, the right leg. Exhaling forward to plank, bringing right knee towards the left elbow, kind of twisting a bit to the left. And inhale into downward dog, again, head can drop down. Left leg, exhaling forward to plank, left knee towards the right elbow. And inhaling into downward dog. Now last round, we're going to stay longer. 5 breaths. As you exhale, come forward to plank, bring right knee towards that left elbow. 5 breaths in and out. Long line from head to your left heel. Again, pushing the floor away through both arms, keeping tops of the shoulders away from the ears, keeping the right knee coming towards that left elbow. After 5 breaths, inhale back into downward dog. Again, head can drop down. Same to the other side. As you exhale, come forward to plank. Now left knee towards the right elbow. And again, 5 breaths here. Lengthening through the spine, reaching head away from the right heel. Pushing the floor away with both arms. Breathing. Drawing in through the belly. And inhale, step into downward dog. And then exhale, bring knees down and come down into child's pose for a few breaths. Rest Bring head down, release the hands, release the arms. You could circle the wrist joints a few times. And just breathe here a couple more times in and out. And then after those couple of breaths, slowly bring yourself back onto hands and knees. Tuck the toes under and lift back into downward facing dog. Now from this downward dog, we're going to inhale, send the right leg up into the air. And then exhale, step right foot forward to hands. So we come up into this high dragon lunge. As you inhale, slowly lift your back up, reach arms up. And then exhale, bring arms down behind the back, interlock fingers. You bring hands together and then inhale, open the chest. So allowing the chest to open after those planks. Keeping your upper body here. As you exhale, start to slowly bring your left knee, that back knee, down closer to the mat. Not touching the mat, but slowly coming closer. And hovering there. Still keep breathing. Keep the chest open. Take one more breath in and out. Just warming up, waking up the legs. And exhale, stay down, slowly release your arms. Bring your hands onto the mat. And inhale, swing the right leg back up into the air. Exhale, step your both feet down. We'll do the same to the other side. Good preparation for some balancing poses that are coming up. Inhale, lengthen your left leg up. And then exhale, step left foot forward again to your hands. So we find that high dragon. Inhale, lift the back up, reach arms up. This time, as you exhale, bring arms behind the back, but now bend the elbows, reach hands to the opposite elbow. Inhale, open your chest. You could even look up. And then, as you exhale, start to bend your right knee towards the mat. Again, not all the way down to the mat, so still hovering the knee off the mat, but lowering down. Going a bit deeper into that left knee as well. Keep the left foot active, heel pressing down, toes spread on the mat. And still breathing. Take one more breath in and out. And then exhale, slowly release the arms. Bring hands onto the mat. And then inhale, swing left leg up into the air. And exhale, step both feet on the mat and start to walk your hands and feet together. So you arrive into a full forward bend. You could bend your knees and then round your back into a full standing forward bend. If you want, you can take hold of your ankles, your calves, and just gently hug yourself towards the legs. You could also hold elbows in front of the legs, like a ragdoll pose. Release the neck. And just a counter pose for that high dragon. Take one more breath in and out here as well. Feet pressed down so legs are active. And then as you exhale, release the hands and arms. You can bend the knees and inhale, slowly bring yourself up into standing Tadasana pose, mountain pose. You can roll the shoulders a couple of times. And then we have a couple of balancing poses. We have one-legged chair and warrior three. And let's start by standing on the right foot. So shift weight onto your right foot. Maybe I'll turn a little bit sideways so you can see better. And then bring your left knee towards the chest. And just take hold of that left knee. And for a couple of breaths, first focus on dropping the left hip down. So we don't let the left hip or buttock hike up, but we keep the hips the same level. And from there, as you exhale, rotate that left hip open. Bring left foot or ankle onto the right thigh. Bring palms together in front of the chest. And then exhale, slowly bend that right knee. So you're sitting down into your chair pose. Keeping the back long, extended. And check you are sending the weight to your right heel rather than to your toes. And you can either keep your palms together or you could extend arms overhead. Makes the pose just a bit stronger, especially for your back, your shoulders, your core. And keep breathing. The breath might be a bit more shallow. Maybe you send the breath more to the chest, keeping lower belly drawn in. One more breath here. And then slowly, as you inhale, lift yourself up. We go straight into warrior 3. So now close your left hip. And then as you exhale, start to slowly tilt forward with your back. Kicking your left heel, your left foot back into that warrior 3. Arms open on the sides. Or again, if you want an extra challenge, you can reach arms overhead here as well. And keep breathing. Standing leg could be bent, or you might extend the leg. Take another breath in and out. And then as you inhale, lift yourself up. Bring the left knee once more towards the belly, towards the chest. You reach arms up. And exhale, release the feet down. Release arms down. And just roll the shoulders, take a couple of steps from one foot to the other. And then we're going to do same to the other side. So now we're going to balance on the left leg. We're going to start by bringing right knee towards the chest, towards the belly. And again, first, just let the right hip, the right buttock drop down. Also gives you a bit of time to find your balance. Breathe here. And then we'll find our balancing chair. So now open that right hip. Bring the ankle or foot onto the left thigh. Bring palms together. And then exhale slowly. Sit down into your chair. Again, sending more weight onto the left heel than toes. You decide how low down you go with that left knee. And breathe. If you want, bring arms overhead. But still release the tops of the shoulders away from the ears. Focus your gaze onto something that's not moving. Let's take one more breath here, in and out. See if you can go just a bit lower down. And then as you inhale, lift yourself up, closing the right hip. And exhale, kick the right leg back into that warrior 3. Again, slowly controlling your way into that second balancing pose. And again, long line from right foot to the head. Keeping chest open. Standing leg could still be bent. Take another breath here, in and out. And then as you inhale, lift yourself up. Bring right knee towards the belly. Reach arms up. And exhale, release the feet down. Release your arms down. And just roll the shoulders. We're going to dive down into that forward bend. Inhale, lengthen arms up. And exhale, bend down. Head can drop down. And then we're going to walk into downward dog. Like we did before. Reaching pelvis up, head dropping down, hands grounded. And then again, engage your fingers, open your palms. Now we're gonna go into hovering all fours. So as you exhale, come forward kind of towards a plank, but then start to bend your knees like you'd be going into all fours. But just before your knees touch the floor, pause there. Trying to keep long line from head to tail. Hover the knees off the mat. Keep upper back wide. And still breathe. Some shaking is very fine. And take another 2 breaths in and out. And then exhale, bring knees down. And again, round your back into that child's pose. Head can drop down. And take a couple of breaths in and out. If you want, you could bring hands behind the neck. You can loosely interlace fingers and just circle the wrists a few times. Take a couple more breaths here, in and out. And slowly bring hands back onto the mat and slide forward onto your belly. So bring yourself onto the whole front line on the mat. We're going to go into the full locust pose. Now you have 2 options for the arms, either arms next to your sides like we had in Warrior 3, or you can interlock fingers behind the pelvis, behind the back, like we did in that high dragon. First, reach your head and feet away from each other, press down through the front of the pelvis. And then as you inhale, start to peel your chest and the fronts of the legs off the mat. Now we're trying to keep the legs extended. And you don't need to lift very high up, maybe just hovering tiny bit off the mat. You can look down, you can look forward, and the whole back line engaged. It might help to flex the toes, it might help to find some more engagement through the inner legs and that connection from inner thighs to your feet. Take another couple of breaths in and out. And then slowly you can start to release down. Bring hands under shoulders. And inhale onto hands and knees. Now we're going to step the right foot forward, and this is where you could use now a block, especially in the beginning, under your left hand. But if you have 2 blocks, you could have 1 block kind of ready there for the right hand as well, in case you want to use them as we go into a twisting lunge. Now tuck your left foot toes under. And again, first, just lift your left knee off the mat, finding a low runner's lunge. And you can either stay here, or if you want an extra challenge, lift hands off the mat or off the blocks and bring arms next to your sides. And just tiny bit hovering your belly off that right thigh. Take another breath here, in and out. And then as you exhale, bring your left hand down, either on the mat or on the block that you might have there. And then inhale, continue twisting, reaching right arm up towards the ceiling. And breathing here, opening through the chest, pressing down, actively pressing down through that left arm. Take another breath in and out. And then exhale, look down, bring hands either on the mat or onto the blocks. And as you exhale, step left foot a bit closer and then round your back into a forward bend over that right leg. So allowing that right leg to now extend more, opening through the back of the leg. Hands could be on blocks or hands could be on the mat. Take another breath here, in and out. More of an in-between stretch between all those strengthening poses. And then we're going to slowly bend the right knee. And now you could either keep blocks under hands or you could bring hands on the mat, but further in front of you. So reach hands further forward and then inhale, lift your left leg up. And now we're not going to lift into a full warrior three. We're just going to hover here, focusing on keeping the left hip closed. So keeping both hips kind of rotated to a neutral place. So we're not rotating them open, but we keep the hips closed. And long line through the back. It's like a flat back pose. Take one more breath in and out, really trying to strengthen, especially buttocks, that support around the hips. And then exhale, bend the right knee. And we're going to bring hands onto the mat and then walk the right foot towards the left side of the mat. Open the right hip, find pigeon pose. You can release the left foot toes. And you could keep hands on the mat. You might use blocks under hands here as well, if you want. We're going to stay in an upright pigeon. So we're not going to lean forward. We're going to focus on opening through the front line and really keeping the whole back line active here. Lifting away from the mat. But at the same time, we might find a nice, much needed stretch around the right buttock, right thigh. We've been balancing a lot on that right leg. Take another breath in and out. And then slowly, you could find your hands on the mat. We're going to step into a downward facing dog. So tuck the left foot toes under and step both feet back. You could walk a bit from one foot to the other. Maybe shake the head a bit. And then we're going to do all this to the other side. So we're going to now start by stepping the left foot forward, finding that runner's lunge. And again, you could have your blocks there under hands. You don't need to use blocks. This is up to you. But actively lift your right thigh away from the mat and either stay here. So we're already here practicing that flat back, active back, or extra challenge. Hover arms next to the sides. Really challenging that left leg, challenging your back. And still breathing. Take another breath in and out. And then exhale, bring right hand down, either on a block or onto the mat. And inhale, continue twisting to the left side. You might look up if that feels good. You might also look down to the mat. But actively rotate your chest, your rib cage out to the left. Long line still from your head to your right heel. Take one more breath here. And then as you exhale, bring both hands down. And we're going to round the back, step the right foot a bit closer to the left foot. And then round the back down and forward into that forward bend. Releasing the neck. Taking a few breaths to stretch the legs before we have that kind of flat back variation of warrior three, or the lower warrior 3, whatever we want to call it. Take one more breath in and out. And then exhale, bend the left knee. And now step your blocks or your hands further forward. And as you inhale, lift your right leg up into the air behind you. And again, we're going to focus on keeping the hips closed and lengthening through the back forward, reaching head forward. Again, not rotating the hips open, but almost actively rotating them in, especially if you have naturally really kind of externally rotated hips, then you might need to even think about rotating them in slightly. Standing leg knee could still be bent, and head reaching forward, back reaching forward. Take another breath in and out. And then exhale, slowly, slowly lower down. Step that right foot down, bring hands onto the mat. And then walk your left foot towards the right side of the mat. Finding that pigeon, you can release your right foot toes. And again, if you want, you might have your block still under the hands. That might give a nice kind of extra support to open the chest. And then finding that engagement again through the whole back line. Shoulders come away from the ears. Take another couple of breaths in and out. And then slowly, slowly, we're going to lean onto the left hip. So we're going to come sitting down on that left hip. You can put your blocks aside if you have them there. And then turn to sitting on your pelvis. We're going to still leave the right leg extended. And we're going to bend the left leg so your left foot is on the inside of your right knee on the mat. We're going to go into wild thing. So step your right hand behind you so you can lean onto that right hand. And then as you inhale, start to press down through that left foot. You can rotate now your right hip slightly open, keeping the right ankle and foot flexed. So maybe pressing down through the outside of that right foot. And left arm either reaching up to the ceiling, or you can also reach the left arm overhead. And actively pressing down through the right hand. Shoulders come away from the ears. Actively lifting the pelvis up. So here as well, the whole back line is active. Buttocks are active, thighs are active, your back is active, shoulders active. Take another breath in and out. And then exhale, slowly release the pelvis down. And we're going to bend both knees, and just for a moment, hug your knees, round your back, drop your head down. Send a couple of breaths towards the back side of the body. You can soften the neck as well. And then we're going to slowly go into that wild thing on the other side. So now we're going to extend the left leg, leave right knee bent. So your right foot is roughly on the inside of your left knee. Step left hand behind you on the mat. And then press down through that right leg. Inhale, lift up. And again, you can rotate the left hip open. So left foot, or kind of the outside of the foot, might be on the mat. Keeping the left ankle flexed. And either reaching the right arm up, or you can reach that right arm overhead or next to the head. And left arm, left shoulder actively pressing down. And breathing. Keep shoulders drawn away from the ears. You might look up, you might look to the side, you might even look down to the mat if that feels better. The right foot actively pressing down. Again, the whole back line active. Take one more breath in and out. And then as you exhale, slowly bring yourself down. And then we're going to balance on the pelvis in the boat pose. So just check that you have some space behind you in case you roll onto your back. Now we're going to find like a V shape between the thighs and the back. So we're trying to extend the back, open the chest, and first bring hands behind the backs of the knees, backs of the thighs. Inhale, exhale, rock the weight to the back of the pelvis and see if you can lift your shins to a parallel line with the floor. And you can stay here, keep holding onto your thighs, or release the arms. Extend the arms next to the legs. Again, it might help to flex the toes or even flex the ankles. Inner thighs active. You can even gently squeeze the legs towards each other. And just breathing up to the chest space. Imagine you're lifting up through the chest bone. Take another breath here, in and out. And then exhale, slowly release the feet down. Open the legs into a butterfly shape. And then we're going to lean into a forward bend. You decide if your feet are close to the hips or further away from the hips, but just round your spine. Hands could be around the feet, or you could walk hands further forward along the mat, along the floor. Finding your forward bend. And just allowing inner thighs to release. See if you could release the back of the neck. Take a couple more breaths in and out. You can breathe all the way down to the belly, all the way down to the lower back. And then as you inhale, start to slowly roll the back up. You can walk up with your hands. Close the hips. And then we're going to come lie down on the back. So you can slowly roll your way down and then bring your feet to a place where you can lift up into another bridge. So pressing down through the feet, lifting up through the pelvis. This time you could walk shoulder blades closer together, interlock fingers, and then enjoy another 5 breaths in your lovely bridge pose. A counter pose after that. Bow pose, opening through the fronts of the hips, opening through the chest. Still inner thighs gently active. Feeling that inner strength that we've been building up. And after your 5 breaths, slowly release down. Bring your back, bring your pelvis down. And then just a few times rock your legs, your knees from side to side, windshield wipers. And then from those windshield wipers, drop your knees to your right side. Finding a twist. You decide if you want to keep your legs apart or if you'd like to bring your left leg all the way on top of the right leg. That might increase the twist. Head can turn to one side or the other. Arms could be open on the sides, or you can keep your arms closer to your body. Head can turn to one side or the other here as well. Take a couple more breaths in and out. And then slowly bring yourself back to center. And again, a couple of windshield wipers, swinging the knees, swinging the legs. And then bring your both legs to the left side of the mat and again find your twist. It could be legs wider apart, or it could be legs on top of each other. Where can you find your twist now on the second side? Head could turn to one side or the other as well. Left hand could be on the right thigh or knee. And then a few slightly deeper, slower breaths in and out. And allowing shoulders to soften, allowing back, hips to soften. And then slowly, with your next couple of breaths, release the twist, come back to center. And then it's time to find our Shavasana pose, our final resting pose. And if you like, you might extend the legs on the mat. If you prefer a butterfly pose, you could bring soles of the feet together, turn knees out to the sides. Or you might choose to leave your knees bent, wherever you can find your resting pose now. And invite your full awareness back to the breath. Again, you might bring one hand on the belly, the other hand closer to the chest or ribs. You can close your eyes if you want. And give yourself a moment to rest here after a strong practice. Allow yourself to pause, to rest, just breathe for a moment. I'll leave you here for a moment with some music. And then I'll come and wake you up at the end of our relaxation. Take a slightly deeper breath in. And let a long breath out. Take another deeper breath in. And exhale through the mouth, letting out a sigh. And slowly, gently start to bring some movement back to your fingers, your toes, your hands, your feet, your wrists, your ankles. If you want, you can reach arms overhead along the floor and stretch the whole body long. And in your own time, you could open your eyes. And when you feel ready, roll down onto one side, either left or the right side, which one feels more natural to you now. And bring yourself up into a seat, into your own final seat. Leave your hips, your back, your shoulders soft, and take a few more breaths here, in and out. And then if it's a part of your practice, you can bring palms together in front of the chest. And as always, at the end of the practice, most importantly, thank yourself for taking some time to move, to breathe. And I thank you very much for joining in, for sharing the practice. Namaste. Thank you.